Okay, hello, my friends. We have a lot to cover today, so we're going to get started immediately. 1,090 Russian casualties, 5 tanks, 14 armored fighting vehicles, 27 artillery systems, 41 vehicles and fuel tanks. Now, if you've been watching for some time daily, you'll see that these numbers are lower than they've been within the last few weeks, but that doesn't mean the battlefield's not still hot. By the way, the defense of Ukraine posted this. Start your day with some great news. Ukrainian warriors from the 28th Mechanized Brigade shot down a Russian Su-25 plane in Kramatorsk. And here is the actual video of it. It's just a still. You're not seeing the video. 28th Mechanized Brigade reports that it downed a Russian Su-25 using man pads. That's that shoulder-fired kind of bazooka-looking thing that they shoot a rocket out of. Okay. 115 Russian reconnaissance drones were shot down recently, including Orlan's, Zala's, and Supercams. These drones could have guided Iskanders and KABs, but now they pose no threat. This represents thousands of saved lives. And this is an interesting video just showing each of the different drones that have been shot down or knocked down, and how, like, the camera coming in and crashing in it and that sort of thing. Okay. Russia's missile attack on Ukraine, this big devastating attack 2 days ago, is not an answer for Kursk. I mean, Russia was saying it was, but that's not it. The Russian army is constantly shelling Ukraine. If it weren't for Kursk, they would have found another reason. He's right. If they didn't have Kursk as a reason, they would find some other reason to mass their drones and do what they did. Russians have again destroyed an entire family unit with a guided bomb. In Donetsk region, an entire family are now under the rubble of their home. A mother aged 45, a father aged 53, a 17-year-old son, 24-year-old daughter. What did that home do to the Russians? What did that family do to the Russians? Absolutely nothing. They're civilians. They're innocent. They had nothing to do with the war. But this is how Russia does what they do. Okay, Atlas oil depot in the Kamensky district of the Rostov region is burning intensely. More drones were sent to attack these oil depots. The Atlas State Reserve's military fuel depot in Rostov region burning gloriously after a Ukrainian drone strike last night. This is day one. So this is just another visual of the same thing. And they said just day one because it may very well burn for a number of days. One more video of the burning Atlas oil depot in Rostov region appeared on Russian Telegram channels. The fuel storage facility attacked by drones is located near the city of Kamensky-Shininsky, near the M4 highway. 2 tanks, that's oil tanks, are burning. Now, this is really interesting. In Kazan, the airport has been closed for landing and departures for 2 hours already. Now, what did we just talk about last night with the airline that was, which, by the way, the airline's name, somebody pointed out, is named Victory, but they're supposed to run on limited fuel. And what happens if they only have a half hour to spend and they have to be in a holding pattern for 2 hours? That's going to be problematic because of something like this. So Igor Shishku said Russia, a gas station masquerading as a country, that's a line from John McCain, has resorted to rationing fuel. Okay, and where was that? This is here in Rostov. Russian media report that an explosion and fire broke out at the Ryazan power plant in Novohrodivka. Okay, so where is that? That's out here. And so what do we know about this? Not a lot, just that there was an explosion and fire, but we don't know if it was drones yet. We don't know if it was sabotage. Could have been normal, some kind of, sometimes a cigarette's just a cigarette, right? A careless cigarette, but we don't know exactly what it is yet. Okay, this is a different attack. At least 5 drones attacked an oil depot in the Kirov region. Astra publishes the moment of the attack. We're not going to see that, but where is that? This is 1,114 kilometers or 692 miles from the Kharkiv border. So that's a long way. This morning, Ukrainian forces successfully conducted one of the deepest drone attacks of the war, striking at a Russian oil depot in Kirov Oblast, 1,100 kilometers from Ukraine. Local sources report that 4 Ukrainian drones hit the depot. Now look at the distance to Moscow. It's about double the distance to Moscow. Like that's pretty significant. And then this is Jason J. Smart. I'm showing this for the commentary. Burning oil depot near the village of Molodinetsky, Russia. Two drones hit the Russian oil facility last night. A fire started, which they still have failed to control. Several tanks are burning. All this because they decided to invade their neighbor. Everything I'm talking about, all the time and effort that I'm spending, all the time that you're watching this, all the destruction, all the damage, all the billions of dollars lost, all because Russia decided to invade their neighbor unnecessarily. They weren't threatened by their neighbor. Okay, Institute for the Study of War. Russia's most combat-capable troops are currently sustaining Russian advances toward Pokrovsk. So we're switching gears from all the oil depots that are on fire and that sort of thing to talk about Pokrovsk. The Russians desperately want Pokrovsk, and it's going to be, I think, a Pyrrhic victory for them, but I think it's going to hurt Ukraine's ability to defend its lines, and they're going to have to move back. And Russia's going to overspend capturing the real estate. They may very well capture the real estate unless something changes, but it's going to cost them tremendously. And Russia's offensive operations are emblematic of the wider Russian theory of victory in Ukraine, premised on seemingly indefinite grinding tactical advances. Russia's continuous and complete prioritization of the Pokrovsk direction will likely impact Russia's overall combat capabilities in Ukraine in the aftermath of any Pokrovsk scenario. Now, I don't know if they'll be able to capture it. If they are able to capture it, it's going to be terrible for both sides, actually. It'll be terrible costs for the Russians, and it'll be terrible because the Ukrainians will have to lose some land and have to back up and put their defense lines further back. But I think Pokrovsk is an interesting thing because General Winter could actually come to Ukraine's aid before that happens if they can hold on long enough. But Russian forces were making relatively rapid advances near Donetsk Pokrovsk, capturing Novohrodivka. Pokrovsk remains a key objective, but its capture may require significant resources and impact overall combat capabilities. Here's an article in the Euromaidan Press from the ISW. Russian forces make relatively rapid advances near Donetsk Pokrovsk. Geolocated footage published on 27 August confirms that Russian forces have advanced over 2 kilometers from their last confirmed position. Okay, so what have they been doing? They've been doing about 400 meters per day. Now they're doing 2 kilometers. That's a big difference, okay? And if they continue at that kind of rate, they'll be there in no time flat. If they don't continue at that rate, they have maybe a month before General Winter bails them out or they lose it. And that's all other things being equal. They may have some kind of extra defenses or something that I don't know about. Russian mill blockers also claim that Ukrainian forces lost Marinivka. The ISW notes that the recent rate of Russian advance in Pokrovsk direction has been relatively rapid, with Russian forces advancing through most of Novohrodivka in a matter of days. Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Colonel General Alexander Syrsky stated during a press conference on 27 August that Russia has redeployed over 30,000 troops from other unspecified sectors of the front line in Ukraine to Kursk Oblast, and we'll talk about Kursk next. But it doesn't seem like they were taking these battle-hardened troops from this section and moving it to Kursk because they really, really, really want Pokrovsk. The Russian military command will likely be forced to expend significant manpower and material in order to seize the more defendable and significant town of Pokrovsk if the Ukrainian military command chooses to reinforce this direction. Now, Zelensky says this is bad. This is going to cost Russia 60,000 soldiers in order to occupy Pokrovsk. Here it is in the Kyiv Post. He says this, just a couple of paragraphs here. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, said at a press conference in Kyiv on Tuesday, August 27th, that the Russian army continues to exert pressure in the Pokrovsk sector of the Donetsk region. They are likely trying to repeat the experience of capturing Bakhmut. He suggested that Russian forces could suffer as many as 60,000 casualties there. Yet, Zelensky emphasized that it's not possible to act based on the principles of you lose 100,000, we lose 100,000. They just can't do it. They can't play that kind of game. The Russians are not retreating there because they're shot at by other Russians when they go back. It's like Bakhmut. They'll lose 50,000 to 60,000 soldiers there, and I think that's what is in the cards for this region. In other news, partisans conducted a series of sabotage operations on a new railway line in southern Ukraine, which connects Rostov-on-Don to Mariupol via Berdansk. The resistance group Atesh notes that this railway line would become the most effective route for transporting military equipment and ammunition to the southern front if the Crimean Bridge were destroyed. So when that happens, and I say it's when, it's probably not an if, but a when that happens, this railroad connection is going to be critical. So sabotaging it's pretty significant. Okay, let's turn our attention to Kursk. 3 weeks ago, Michael McFowle says Ukrainian warriors invaded Russia and Putin has done nothing to try to push them out. Well, it's not nothing, but they haven't done anything really effective or significant. I cannot think of another country in the world that would be so passive 3 weeks after being invaded. Can you? That's a great question. Okay, now, there's some things that we just don't know. Johnny Escola says, Day 22, there are some new Ukrainian advances and intense battles, but Ukrainian OPSEC, operational security, remains strong. It's important to keep in mind that there is a delay in news reporting due to Ukrainian OPSEC. Many of the advances that we learned about occurring earlier, and Russia often tries to manipulate the information landscape, frequently spreading misinformation. Ukrainian OPSEC regarding this operation remains impressive. We are now aware of significantly less information than before, but there are also some things that we understand just because we can piece things together. Due to increased Ukrainian FPV drone activities, Russian regime authorities have closed the E-38 highway. It seems Ukrainian forces are closer to that road than reported. So here's where we know that they are, and here's that. And now they can put a drone for about 10 kilometers and be fairly effective. So, but they're not really, we don't know what troops are out in this region as well. So Ukrainian special forces hit Russian electronic warfare unit in Kursk Oblast. The Sapphire EW system is claimed to detect targets within a 30-kilometer range and counter them at a distance of up to 5 kilometers. Now, even though the main fighting is toward Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region, the Kursk offensive has been really important to shift the center of gravity within the battle space. The ISW has previously assessed that Ukraine's operations in Kursk Oblast have already had theater-wide operational and strategic effects on Russian forces, and Ukraine's incursion into Kursk Oblast has challenged Putin's theory of victory by seizing the initiative in a new area of operations while degrading Russia's ability to maintain the long-term initiative in certain sectors of the front line with Ukraine. But, of course, on Russian TV, they're lying to them. The incursion into Kursk region by the AFU is in favor of Russia. Well, it's good for Russia. Why? Russians are told by their TV channels because an attack on Russian territory closes the possibility of negotiations with Ukraine. So they're just rationalizing, and it's fascinating to watch. It's kind of like saying, rate my salad. Okay, so that's where the Russians are. Finally, we'll close with this. Darth Putin, to halt Ukraine's new offensive, I will bomb Russian city of Belgorod before they capture it. I remain master strategist. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.